from Cam Newton, and that can be in a couple different veins. What do you see schematically, or what do you expect his stat line to be even? What's a good Cam Newton day if we're looking at the box score?
Yeah, I think you're going to look at between the 200 and 250 yard range, but I think I want to look at it schematically, Yanni. I think it's going to be similar to a Baltimore Ravens offense. A little bit slower, a little bit more methodical, but it's going to be screen passes. It's going to be short to intermediate routes. James White, we were talking a little bit off air, has the same skill set as Christian McCaffrey. He's a poor man's version of that player, but it's that type of offense.
I like that.
I couldn't disagree more because the Ravens are a power offense first, and I think you're still going to have the elements of wanting to run the football, but the Ravens do it with Big Boy. I think what we're going to see is a little more movement from Cam. We'll see different kinds of running backs because that's the other thing too. The Patriots really don't have the proverbial power back the way Baltimore does, and I do think that Cam Newton is much better at reading defenses than Lamar Jackson.
I don't think we're going to see the 2015 Cam Newton. Obviously, he's older. He's gone through some injuries. But mentally, this guy's got it, and I think it all starts up there, guys. He is just, he's so confident. In every press conference we see, he's been so confident. So I think he'll be fine.
All right, other side of the ball, the Patriots' identity. Listen, it was fool's gold through 9 weeks last year, but they were historically good. We know the secondary is still good, even with the departures of Chung and Harmon. Worried about the linebacking core. What is the identity of this Pats defense?
I think it's going to be kind of a bend but don't break mentality like we've seen in years past. Also, don't get beat deep. I think they're going to be able to control the edges. They're going to, be able to control, making sure the opposing offense doesn't take the top off of the offense. And they're going to, it's going to be a make your earn it type of a defense.
I think when you have somebody like Stephon Gilmore, there's your anchor. But that said, the identity of this defense is that they're probably not going to have one consistently. It's really going to be Bill Belichick coaching up the defense this year in a way that we've seen the offense coached up in years past.
Well, I agree with you, Gresh, and I think Josh Uche and Kyle Duggar will definitely step up as rookies this year.
Let's hope so.
It's been a while since we've had impactful rookies for the Patriots right away. All right. Hot button topic, AFC East. Who has the better future within the next 5 years, Dolphins or Patriots? One has a franchise quarterback, the other, in the Pats, we don't really know what the future holds. One has a better, more accomplished coach. Let's go to you first, Rosie. What do you think? Better future, Pats or Dolphins?
I think the Patriots have a better future for sure. They're a historic team, and I think they have a better reputation, better coaching staff as well. I don't think that if I was a player coming out of college, I'd want to go to the Pats instead of the Dolphins.
If I knew how long Bill B. Hoodsworth was going to be coaching, it would be New England. But I'm going to say Miami only because I think Bill's got a couple years left. And then there's going to be a massive transition that's got to take place, like what's going on in Miami. Plus, I actually think there's an owner in Miami who might stick with this plan instead of changing coaches like he changed his drawers.
Well, supposedly the odds are now more in favor that Bill Belichick doesn't return to New England.
I don't know about that.
Next year. If he's here, I think it's the Patriots. If not, then I agree with Gresh and go with the Dolphins.
No one knows Belichick's contract status. That has not been made public. All right, more to prove this year. This is your quintessential talk radio question. Bill Belichick or Tom Brady? Obviously, Belichick doesn't have Brady, who he's won all the Super Bowls with. Brady doesn't have the guru at coach. I think it is Brady because he has all the weapons in Tampa. It's sort of plug and play, get ready. You have the weapons. We brought all these guys in. Can you get back to the promised land? Whereas Belichick, he's proved so much already as a coach that if they go 9-7 or even 8-8, I don't think anyone's saying Belichick's lost it.
I think I'm going to go with Bill Belichick, though. I think, he's not the one on the field. He is the one, preparing the team every week. But Tom Brady's the one on the field. He's got the rapport with the players. If Belichick can win one, maybe get to one without Tom Brady, I think he cements his legacy even greater.
This isn't even a question. It's Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady is going to prove if he can have a LeBron James effect on the Tampa organization by raising them up the way LeBron does when he walks in. Yeah, that guy Belichick, he's completely redone the way you run an organization in free agency and has more Super Bowls than anybody and has forgotten more football than pretty much all these coaches. His legacy is sound if the guy walked away today.
And he's a Subway pitchman.
Oh my God.
Super Dupers, they're fantastic.
He didn't even know what the sandwich was called. $5 footlong, he called it a Super Duper.
Super Duper.
All right, after the break, we are taking your questions.